popping on? What's going on, everybody? Good evening, and thank you for checking out another one of my weekly Forex and crypto analysis. I do 100% appreciate it. And so, let's go ahead and get things started. Before I go over any charts, I always do this every analysis that I do in the weekly. I go over to forexfactory.com and I go and check out the fundamentals. Right now, I am by no means necessary a fundamental trader, as in I don't use the news to give me a bias as to where I believe the market is going, because in my opinion, more times than not, the news is just an excuse for price to go along wherever it was going to go already before the news even came out. And that just has to do with like inside trading and all that stuff, but I'm not going to get too deep into that. But what I do like to do is check out when the news does occur. I like to say, hey, what time is it that if there's going to be high volatility in the market, what time is that going to be? And there are certain news events that I do pay attention to, which so happens to be on Friday. But without talking too much, Monday, tomorrow, 6 a.m. Central Standard Time, we're going to be having Governor Bailey. He'll be speaking in regards to the GBP. Tuesday, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, there's going to be U.S. dollar news, and that's JOLTS job openings. And this usually does occur a couple days before non-farm payroll. Wednesday, we have ADP, non-farm employment change at 7:15 a.m. This is... I wouldn't say this isn't not so important, because it is just a predetermined, it's basically a predetermination of what's going to actually be going on with the non-farm employment change. So we'll be watching that on Wednesday, but it's the one on Friday that you really want to pay attention to. 7:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, there is going to be Canadian dollar news, and that's going to be the GDP month to month, and US dollar news will be going on at the same time at core PCE price index, and that's going to be month to month as well. Again, like those type of news events to me personally doesn't necessarily mean too much for me as a technical analysis trader, but it is definitely tomorrow on Friday the 1st. It's funny, first of the month, that 7:30 a.m. we're going to be having non-farm NFP, right? Non-farm payroll, employment change, and unemployment rate, because that is a news event that usually does push the markets. Now, I do know that for me personally, at least, I usually pay more attention to the interest rate news that happens usually in the middle of the month, like on the 15th. And that's FOMC, but NFP is definitely up there where, if I'm not already in a trade, I'm not going to trade at all, because this is going to be a very heavy impact news. And so that's what's going to be for next week. Let's go ahead and go on over to the charts now, right? Once I go over the once I go over the news and everything like that, that's when I go over to the charts and I'm like, all right, so let's go ahead and take a look at what we have for the dollar. So last week I was saying, hey, one thing that I want to see before I even try to trade on the US dollars, I want to see this break out to the downside. And then once it makes that retracement, make that continuation to the downside, right? And with, I did take the attempt of trying to trade Euro USD for a buy opportunity, because with the dollar is the exact opposite of Euro USD. Well, not exact, but it's basically like 98% inverse correlation. I wanted to see the US dollar continue to go bearish, and whoever that is, can I ask you to please mute your mic? Or you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and handle that real quick. Sorry about this, guys. This will be edited out. Where? There we go. I'm gonna go ahead, mute upon entry. There you go. Sorry about that. Okay, so as I was saying with so that never happened. Basically, that the breakout to the downside, it didn't happen, and price did reject off of this zone that I had drawn out last week, because you know there's these two interest points that I said, hey, right here, since the US dollar didn't necessarily break to the downside and breaking this zone right here, I was I wasn't too crazy about you know what, I'm not gonna try to get into a trade as of yet. I would, if there was going to be a time, it would have been up over here. Just let me go on to the 1 hour time frame before I start looking at the weekly and stuff like that. I was saying that, hey, if there was going to be a time that I would be interested in trying to sell it, it would, well, the dollar, right? It would be around in this area when I draw my fib from the high to the low. And I will talk more about that a little later. And price did reject there the first time, but then it came right back, dropped again, and then it came back again. That's not necessarily a good sign for me to try to get into it, but let me go and look at the weekly time frame so I could even justify what I'm saying. So onto the weekly time frame. If I draw out, or if I bring out what I had previously on the charts, there is this weekly Fibonacci level that I had drawn out and say, hey, right now for the US dollar, it's at a very crucial area where it could potentially show that it's gonna push to the downside, right? You know, when we talk about the difference between the US dollar futures versus the US just the DXY in general, I was saying that there's something I'm paying attention to where on this fib from this high of, you know, the actual high is 103.960, but I just put it at 104 basically, and 89.145, price still has yet to come up to the 71% fib, which is 99.695, and I just have this drawing right here for 99.715, but this is what I'm paying attention to, right? But versus when I go onto the DXY and the fib from in this base, it looks the exact same. It looks basically the same, right? But when I draw the fib up to this high to this low, price has already hit that 71% Fibonacci level. So it's kind of like very interesting to me, and I do tend to like go leaning towards the futures, and because it's just when you also look at the other futures, and I'll go ahead and drop that game one day. Probably I'll drop it in the chat, in the Telegram group chat. But you know, there's all, you know, usually not even just with the US dollar, but you know, when we talk about the GBP, right, the Great Britain Pound Currency Index. When we look at the other currencies, those have more gaps in the market on the lower time frames, right? They have more gaps in the lower time frame, like when you seeing all these gaps in the market, and there's no volume to it. But like with the DXY, and again, I'm gonna drop the other ones so that you guys can peep it. It shows you volume, and there's way less gaps. You know, if there's gaps in the market, then that's just truly there was trading that was going on outside of the 24-hour, outside of like regular trading hours. But you know, so that's just why I'm leaning towards this more on the weekly time frame. I'm like, I still believe price can still come up a little higher. You know, I don't want to like necessarily go based off of the DXY right now, because I just, even the price action, hold on, I'm trying to, oh, 695, sorry. There we go. So I really like, I'm leaning more towards this price action to see price continue going up higher to 99.695, I'm not necessarily like this candlestick that formed. It doesn't necessarily tell me much on a weekly point of view, but there is only just 4 more days until the monthly candle closes on the US dollar, and this is not looking like a candle. Let me get rid of the drawing first of all. Let me hide them. This is not a type of candlestick that I would want to try to sell up against. You know what I'm saying? Wait, hold on. I did not mean to do that. But this is not a type of candlestick that I would not try to sell up against. It looks just like a bullish Mariposa candle, and I would want to see more confirmations for me to try to sell it. And with the monthly candle looking like that, it's kind of hard to tell. I would rather be patient than try to get into any trade when it comes to like Euro USD or AUD USD and anything like that on my watch list. That's definitely not what I'm interested in at all. I'd rather, again, at this point, I have to see a breakout of some sort before I try to trade anything. I want to see a breakout to the downside. Like, this is the move that I wanted to see originally, and it didn't happen. So, it did happen where it bounced off and pushed to the downside, but it didn't break out through this zone. And me seeing that it didn't break through that zone, that's where I'm like, okay, now it's not a safe move to play it off yet until I see that breakout. And like I did just mention, right, that is technically, not even technically, it is at a level where if I draw, let me get rid of this. If I draw from this high of about 99.295, the Fibonacci level, to the low of price came down to like 97.725. Here is an area where, I'm like, hey, price can still bounce off of here and and go bearish. Like, this is still a legit supply zone. Like, on the lower time frames, we still did see that supply kicked in and price pushed to the downside. But however, this is just the mere fact that prices came up here multiple times and there's equal highs. It just makes me feel as if price can still potentially go bullish as well. Possibly for a stop hunt, then a drop, retracement, then a push to the downside. Yeah, that could possibly happen, but I want to wait and see what happens. I don't like playing too much inside of a range. I've already played it once and it didn't move 100%. It moved pretty decently, but it didn't move in a way that I'm comfortable trading, and so I'm just like, I'm just gonna wait for better opportunities, and just to draw out some trend lines for some guidance, and it's not necessarily even a clean one for me personally. It's more of that downtrend line that I'm paying attention to, But overall, if price breaks out of this zone, I'm more bullish on it than bearish. But I would have to just basically see between this zone up here and this zone down here. I would just rather have to see. I have to see what's going to happen between the zone. If price comes up here and if it holds, hey, maybe it could be a solid selling opportunity, and we can play the consolidating, because overall on the daily time frame, when we take a look at it, price has only just been consolidating amongst the zone. So if price does come back up to the zone, and if it doesn't break through, hey, we could possibly find a trading opportunity. If price comes down to this support and it bounces off pretty nicely, hey, we might see a possible buying opportunity. But I want to wait for the price action. Even looking at the daily time frame, this candlestick on Friday, this is not a candlestick that I would want to sell up against. This looks like a hammer to me, and I don't want to see a hammer when I'm looking to sell, especially on the daily time frame. I want to see a shooting star candle, or I want to see a 2 candlestick pattern, maybe tweezer tops, or if I want to see something like evening star pattern. I don't know why I was gonna say morning star, but I'm like, morning star is definitely a bullish, not a bearish pattern. But you know what I'm saying? I want to see the candlesticks that are telling me, like, if I were to see candlesticks like this, okay, yes, and this is what I actually saw that even gave me that, okay, yes, there's going to be a possibility that the US dollar is going to fall. But then a couple days after, I'm like, no, I don't see it anymore. And so it's like, you know, I just got to be patient. When I see it, then I'll see the opportunity. You know, going on over to arbitrage real quick. I'm going to go ahead and remove these drawings. Wait a minute. Does it delete these over here? Yes, it does. Wow. That sucks. All right. There we go. It's because I drew them while I had the over here when it says drawings. I had that going on and I was drawing. So whatever I do these drawings here happens to the other one. But I don't necessarily need this or these because I just showed you guys that and I could just draw it again later. But overall, on the arbitrage, you know, still very much bullish on the weekly time frame. Very, very much bullish. Daily time frame as well is very much bullish. And if, again, I always say this, guys, if you guys do need any assistance into understanding these bands or anything like that, I can send you some videos of explaining what all of these are. It's just much easier for me to just go by it rather than explain everything, because if I do, then I'll just spend a lot more time on here than you guys want me to spend, right? So, but yeah, you know, basically everything is looking bullish, and at this point, I kind of have to just see on the daily time frame, or not even on the daily, sorry, on the 4-hour time frame. I just kind of need to see at this point a breakout to the downside is the same thing I'm seeing on the higher time frames. On the 1-hour time frame, you know, same thing. It's showing that it's bullish, and I don't want to go up against this right now. You know, it's just there's way too many signs that say that, hey, this might not be looking for the bearish move. But at the same time, it's not. I'm not trying to. I don't like playing breakouts that often. You know, I'm not that much of a breakout guy. I like rather breakout retracement and then looking to sell. So that's my thing. And this was the selling opportunity that I was talking about that I did attempt with, you know, the next wave. And when price got up to these equal highs, I said, hey, if price doesn't break through this, I'm getting out the trade. And sure enough, it didn't. So it wasn't even, I'm not gonna say it wasn't worth the time or the effort, because we were still able to make some money off of it. But it's like, again, it's not, I mean, right now it's not looking like a play that can still move to the upside. So I'm gonna hide that, because I can still, I'll tell you guys again, it's what I said with the dollar, the US dollar futures, the DXY, whatever you want to call it. I'm literally gonna say the exact opposite right here. Like, that's just how I like doing it, the DXY than Euro USD. But Euro USD weekly time frame, it looks a little bit more steeper of a push to the downside. Like, as you guys can see right now, price is currently holding at the weekly 78.6 Fibonacci level, versus when we were looking at the US dollar, it was at the 61.8. Let me just, whereas the US dollar, it was just, that's weird, there at the 61.8, and it hasn't even came to the 71%. But that's just because this is the euro and the US dollar, not just the US dollar, right? So the euro has some influence on this. But anyways, currently weekly time frame, same thing as I was saying with the DXY, right? This weekly candlestick that closed last week isn't necessarily a candlestick that's telling me, okay, yes, there's a buying possibility here, you know what I'm saying? So I'm not necessarily quite 100% ready to try to buy the DXY, although Euro USD, although it is currently on a higher time frame at a decent, you know, at a decent demand zone. But still, like I said, nonetheless, it's just the way how the price has been moving throughout the last week. It wasn't enough for me to say that yes, I feel confident that price is gonna go bullish. and it is still at a zone. Like right here, like I'm just being honest with you guys. You know, if you're down to be risky and risk it for the biscuit, right now is if there was a time that I was gonna buy Euro USD, it'll be now. You know, I'm just gonna keep it 100 with you guys, but it doesn't look good to me because again, when I go closer in, just like with the US dollar, when I see this, all I'm thinking is, oh, there's equal bottoms here that price wants to come and grab, possibly before pushing to the upside. You know, when I really bring out, and I don't know why I didn't use this with the dollar. I'll go and take a look at it later on. But when I go and look at where the point of control is at, the point of control, yes, it is indeed up over here at 1.1300. This is where the most volume currently on the 4-hour time frame for the Euro USD is at. This is where it's most interested in going, but there is still a little bit of volume down here that price can come and grab potentially, you know. And if instead of me right now looking for buys over here, I'd rather see if price does indeed come and reclaim this zone and then push to the upside. That way it grabs some volume first. So it'll be like a push to the downside real quick and then breakout, something like that, retracement, then continuation. That's something that I would look for, you know. And again, this is on the 4-hour time frame where this is where the most volume is at on Euro USD. That doesn't mean that that's where price is gonna go, but that's a good piece of confluence for me, right? Right now, since it's Sunday, and point of control is right here, so there might not be a whole lot of movement. But when we're just looking at this 1-hour time frame, we can see that there is interest in volume both to the upside and to the downside. So it's kind of like, again, I don't necessarily. If I wanted to be more confident with the buy, I would have wanted to see the point of control up here as well with the 4-hour time frame. So that's just, again, it's not really something that I'm fancying for the buy, but it's not a bad opportunity. You know, I see the opportunity there. Just I'm not willing to take it. Because again, fibs, it's at the zone, just like how on the US dollar. Let me go on the 4-hour time frame. Just like how on the US dollar, it's right there. There's an opportunity here where price can still, and I actually like this way better, for a price to still come down and come over here to like 1.09525, even 1.09400, and then break out to the upside. You know, I'm totally here for that, but I want to see it first, you know, before I try to get into anything. I don't want to set a buy limit right now, as much as I know it's a possibility. It's just because FOMC is right around the corner, and I want to see what. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. I want to see what is going to happen before all that plays out. So that's with Euro USD on just my regular technical analysis. And I usually like to talk a lot about the dollar and Euro USD because it makes me get a better bias of how I feel about the rest of the US dollar pairs, because I do regularly trade US dollars, like US dollar related pairs. So it gives me good setups, right? So, or give me a general idea of everything else. So weekly time frame is still very much bearish on Euro USD. Hasn't changed since like June of last year. Daily time frame. Oops. Sorry about that, y'all. Let me go ahead. Let me call you back. Sorry about that. This is my business partner. But so yeah, Euro USD definitely. On the daily time frame, it's kind of the same thing where I'd rather see. It's very, like, first of all, let me get rid of all this because I'm not even in this bullish trade anymore. Again, it's like basically broke even for me. But Euro USD still need to see a whole lot of movement to the upside before the higher time frame start even saying, okay, yes, I can consider the buys. 4-hour time frame, same thing. It's price could go bullish here, but I'm not really leaning towards that until, again, I see it. And I'd rather at this point, especially seeing the 1-hour time frame look like this, I'd rather just see, again, coming back over here real quick, I'd rather just see price push to the downside and then break out, retest, continuation. Like, that's just the play that I see the best and the safest. It gives you, instead of a 50% probability right now, because right now it's 50-50 to me, it's just a better opportunity if you wait for that dive than a bullish move. That seems like a more possible, realistic possibility for me, especially with NFP right around the corner. The banks, they're scheming. They are scheming, and I'm pretty sure they want people to think, bullish dollar, and that could be what the setup is during the week. But then as the week gets closer to NFP, they just turn it around, So that's something that I just want to pay attention to. Aud USD, this is not necessarily a pair that I've been trading. I don't know when's the last time I traded this pair. Just to go over real quick what I was looking at last week, I was saying that, hey, I wanted to see price break out, retest, and continue to the upside. Never got the retracement on this, so again, it was an opportunity that I was looking at. And I was also saying that, hey, this zone on the daily time, overall, like, this is just from the past couple of weeks, what I've been talking about with Aud USD. I was saying that, hey, from this high to this low, there is this zone that's here that I am watching to see what price does at. First it came to the 78.6, and it did push to the downside. I mean, if somebody would have gone into that trade at the 78.6, your stop loss over here at 0.75543, that's definitely at least a 1 to 2 risk to reward. But I don't trade Aud USD that often, right? But anyways, what I really what I really want to wait for on Aud USD after breaking this zone is like, okay, well, when you retrace, how deep are you going to retrace? Are you just going to make a retracement? Are you just going to make a retracement back down over into this zone and then go bullish? Or is your retracement going to be much deeper and come down to the Fibonacci level and then push to the upside? And what I mean by that is, when I zoom in from where price actually, the bullish move, I would say that this is a very good, I mean, it's not impulsive, because on the 4-hour, like, an impulsive move would be just like this one candle, realistically. But this is very much Fibonacci worthy, in my opinion. So from this low to this high, is price going to come down and make a retracement, like I said, back down to this zone in general? Or is it going to come down and hit these Fibonacci levels where, the bullish move, again, from where the bullish move started, but this is where the bullish move really took place. You guys notice how this is where, like, in here, this is where things really took off versus the rest of the candlesticks. If price is going to come back into that area and go bullish, that's what I would rather play, the second move, rather than the retracement. Although I do see, let me go ahead and get those back first of all. But I want to actually draw a zone here so that I could pay attention to this level. I'm going to set an alert so that I can be paying, so I don't have to pay attention to the chart. So I don't have to stare at the charts all day. I'm just going to set an alert and wait for the markets to come to me, right? But I also see on the lower time frame, let me actually grab this same Fibonacci level. 1-hour time frame, I still see, hey, what about this smaller move? where, price made a bullish flag and then pushed to the upside. What happens if price does indeed, let me get rid of this squiggly drawing. I don't need it anymore. What happens if price does indeed come down and just to make a retracement onto this zone? If it's gonna do that in between 0.74369 and 0.74095 would be the zone where I would be looking to buy. And again, that would be on the 1 hour time frame. And if I see the type of candlestick pattern that would make, again, that's let's just say a morning star pattern, or you have tweezer bottoms, or you have some type of divergence that you're seeing, whatever other confluence that you like to use, and you see it down here on the 1 hour time frame, then hey, that's a buying opportunity in my eyes. But I'm a swing trader and I don't even trade AUD USD that much, but just based off of, again, I'm a swing trader, and what I'm seeing on the daily time frame, it doesn't look like to me AUD USD wants to really stop. But it wouldn't surprise me as well if it came back down to this zone to go bullish. So that's AUD USD. Let's go on over to arbitrage real quick and see what it's talking about. Weekly time frame, I'm pretty sure it's finally done that breakout that I wanted. Yep. And I wanted the retracement back down. And it's funny enough because it did do that retracement, but I wouldn't say that I wasn't paying attention to it, but I had an alert set for the buy to happen down here and not up here. So yeah, that definitely sucks to be me, I guess. No, I'm just playing. It's not that serious. But overall, 4 hour time frame, it still has a lot before it wants to even start to say that, hey, I'm going to make a retracement. And, if I do see the possible drop, retest, continuation, where I like to see price cross through this black line right here on arbitrage, just to keep it simple. It's called the RSI line, but just to keep it short and simple, that's what I like to use to wait for price to break out, retest, and then continue for me to look for sell opportunities. But that's what I would want to see before I even dream about AUD USD sells on the higher time frame. And 1 hour time frame, it might be setting up for a potential sell, but I don't see it going down that far. And I'm not really that eager to trade AUD USD, like I've been saying how many times already. So that's AU. Oh, let me get rid of that. UChef, I am no longer in, but I will go ahead and talk about it. And of course, for those who have their own personal trades, don't worry, I'll definitely get to you guys ASAP. You gotta just give me towards the end, because I do like to go over my pairs so I can give you guys what I'm looking at on a consistent basis, my ideas about them. But yeah, so UChef, there was a trade opportunity that I saw last week. I was like, hey, I liked the sell over here, but it was kind of risky, so I got into that sell. Price, did his thing, made equal bottoms here. Well, no, it didn't make equal bottoms. It came over to this 23.6 Fibonacci zone, kicked me out the trade at break even before ultimately coming down and hitting what would have been my TB4. It happens. I was prepared for it. It is what it is. But overall, just like how I was mentioning last week on the weekly analysis about how I felt like, UChef is such a tease, because 2 weeks ago, this is the candle that it printed out as acting as if it wanted to finally break out of this zone that it's been in since, it entered in October in 2021. It's been, hit this resistance up here, came down and hit the support, came up, hit the resistance, came down, hit support, came back up, and it left a wick to the upside, faking out buyers who were trying to buy the breakout, whoever did play the breakout, they probably made some money before ultimately price came back down. But me seeing that, I'm like, okay, so on the weekly time frame, it just looks like price might be, again, faking out the buyers to the upside. However, I do still know the possibility of, this bullish move that happened here. As much as it kind of looks ugly, as much as it kind of looks ugly, first and foremost, let me go ahead and draw this trend line so that, just to give us some clarity, It's not in the channel necessarily quite yet. It might have been one point in time, but not right now. But me seeing price come and over here from the low of 0.91513, and it made that bullish move up to 0.94598. Over here, back down at 0.92400 or 0.92175. Wouldn't be such a bad idea to try to get a trade in. And especially if price came down there a little bit more slowly. Like, let's say, for instance, price made this bullish move. This might take a couple of days, but price made that bullish move a little bit back up and then made another push down, making a sort of ABC pattern. Then that might not be a bad play for a bullish USHEF, Now, this more lines up with there being strength in the US dollar, which I'm kind of not necessarily looking towards over here. But I do know the likelihood of it happening, it does exist, right? So this is something that I'm going to be watching out for, It's not necessarily a play that I'm going to play, but it's something I'm watching out for. I'm just going to draw the zone out there. Now, looking at the 4-hour time frame, price bounced off the 61.8. Looks like it gave not a morning star pattern, but a bullish engulfing candle right there, so that's cool. On the 4-hour, I just see it making lower highs and lower lows, so that's cool. Making that push to the downside again might be something that we could pay attention to. Just to be quite honest, just based off of how the weekly looks, I'm still leaning more towards the bears than the bulls. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not really looking for the bullish move at all, but I'm just being, I have to be aware of it. I want to be aware of it so that when price gets there, I can act accordingly. Or when and if price gets there. So, me coming into price and seeing, this bearish move on the 1-hour time frame from Friday, this retracement to the upside, and since price is making lower highs and lower lows, it's making me think, hey, USHEF can possibly be looking for selling opportunities in this area. Yeah, and quite honestly, to me, this is probably the best thing I've seen all day from what I've gone through so far, the 1, 2, 3 pairs that I just went through. But out of everything, this probably looks the best to me for a trade opportunity, So, and I only say that because I can clearly see, on the 1-hour time frame, price is making lower lows, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low. And broke this previous lower high, but then price came back and made equal lows down here. Then lower high, if you will, I guess. I'll consider that a lower high. Then lower low. So there can be a lower high right here, and that's not necessarily a bad look for me personally. This is where supply kicked in. That retracement back to the supply zone does look solid to me. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that off. I might really try to get a sell limit here. Quite honestly, I'm not against it. The only thing that I am watching for, price did drop, retrace, came to a pretty nice level, and then pushed to the downside as well. Yeah, the only thing that would make me say that, okay, my buy bias for this trade no longer exists is if this zone right here, I'm sure you guys can see that, this zone right here, unless this gets broken, then I'm still going to have a bearish bias. on USHEF. So I'm going to go ahead and set a sell limit at 0.93200. And before I get into this, I'm going to go take a look at what arbitrage is talking about before I make a final decision. Target down over here to 110. It does not look bad. And another reason why I'm actually kind of comfortable taking this trade is because, again, I still have my bias of price coming down in between this zone of 0.92700 and 0.92190 basically. So if I'm seeing prices making lower highs and lower lows, let me go with the trend. And this is, again, the best thing that I've seen in the markets as of right now. I still do believe, yes, the dollar can push up a little more. So I'm going to go ahead and actually extend my stop loss a little more just to be on the safer side, you know. Yeah, it makes the risk to reward not as glamorous, because usually, I mean, right now it's a 1 to 2.75. And, you know, if you want, you can move your stop loss to where these equal highs are at. I mean, it's a 25 pip stop loss, and then that makes your risk to reward basically a 1 to 4.5 if you take the whole trade down here. But again, it's more of where do you want to be? Do you want to have a higher risk to reward but a potential to get stopped out? Or do you want to have the opportunity to make the trade have breathing room and then still make you profitable? You know, that's a question that you just got to ask yourself. But for me personally, I'm going to go ahead and give you guys the safer route. And where is the stop loss that I wanted? I'll just have it at 2.75 for the total risk to reward. So entries at, you know what? How about we do this? How about we have a better entry, and then so we have a better risk to reward and also a better stop loss. So we have, again, breathing room for the trade. We can even possibly get out early so we don't even have to risk all our money. We'll see what happens. But yeah, so entry is going to be at 0.93260. And hey, if you want to get in at 0.93200, you can. And if we miss the entry, then it is what it is. Let me get the take profits. 34.3 pips is the stop loss, so basically 34 pips. Okay, that's 34.2. But again, I usually just round up or down, so 34 pips. Right there, 0.92925 was TP1. My TP2 is usually always, TP2 or TP3 is usually always the equal lows, and that's 64 pips. So, and I'll figure out what the risk to reward of what that is. TP3 or TP4, in this scenario it's TP3. I'm looking at 0.92300, and the last target is at 0.92100 basically. Let me just put 0.92100. Now, if anybody's gone into this, if anybody's put this sell limit in, hey, that's totally fine, because we still have time before that trade like even plays out, right? Let me get the risk to rewards. The risk to reward on this would be a 1 to 8.7. The risk to reward for TP3 would be a 1 to 2.79, and then TP4, as I mentioned before, is basically a 1 to 3.3. 3.38. Yeah, so you could just round that up to 3.4, or yeah, so that's for USHEF. Again, I have it as a sell limit, so nobody should be in a trade right now unless you want to be, because I usually say anywhere between that 61.8 Fibonacci level and the 78.6 is a solid entry for me to get into a trade. So you can stack it, you can do whatever, but please use proper risk management, because I want you to be able to trade for another day and not to just blow your account off of one trade. Now, going on over to arbitrage, let's see what arbitrage is looking like. weekly time frame, I'm pretty sure it is still very much bullish. Yes, it is. Rejected off of that. Let me delete everything here. Rejected off of this upper danger zone over here. And just so you guys know, basically, I use these as support and resistance zones. That's just basically how I use that upper danger zone and that lower danger zone for visual purposes so that you guys can see it. Okay. Daily time frame, definitely interested to see what price is going to do here. Rejected off of that RSI line and the upper danger zone, you know, so that's telling me there might be, again, a possibility for there to be a bearish move, but it's not, nothing is confirmed yet for that on the daily time frame, so it would still be a risky play. That's the reason why I set a sell limit up, right? 4-hour time frame, it's not necessarily setting up for a buy. I'm not liking how this level pro here is above ground zero. I definitely don't like seeing that, but overall, what I would need to see in order for me to say, okay, price is just going to continue going bullish, is for price to break out, retrace this RSI line right here, and then continue going bullish. The best part about that where it would break out to above that RSI line, that's where our entry is. That's the best part about that. So up over here at 0.93261, I don't want to confuse too much, so I'm just gonna have one chart at a time. But you know, again, if price ends up breaking out to the upside, that is gonna activate us and get us in the trade. And even if it needs to do a retracement back down to that lower danger zone, it's gonna at least get us some profits, you know, and it's gonna secure, I'm pretty sure it's gonna probably secure TP1 by coming back down over here. So that's one thing that I like to see off of that. I mean, 4-hour time frame is still very much bearish, but again, I don't like the level pro being above ground zero, because this green line is ground zero, right? You know, the arbitrage Z over here, it looks good, and it's still calling for a sell, and everything still looks like it's gonna sell except for the candlestick color. The candlestick color is yellow, and that's saying that there's moderate bullish pressure. So we'll see what goes down with that. And USHEF on the 1-hour time frame, yeah, definitely still looks like it's gonna go bullish, which again, that's a good sign for us for our buy limit that's up here, you know. And if it comes up to that upper danger zone and holds like how I would believe it would, then this play should be good to go. So I'm gonna go ahead and type this up, or actually, guys, take a screenshot. Guys, you know, do what you gotta do if you're gonna take this trade. And I definitely like the odds of how this will look like. If it doesn't activate, then you will not get a notification in the app. If it does activate, then you know what time it is. All right. I actually forgot to put this up so I can see if I have any questions. All right, there you go. Now my boy paying on me. All right, so yeah, so there goes for USHEF, and I'll probably, you know, do a play-by-play in the chats to let you guys know how I feel about that. All right, so let's look at gold. This was a fire call. You know, this was a very good play on gold overall, you know, from the last week's analysis for those who tuned in. You know, 456 pip move, pretty solid. Definitely, let me go over it real quick. So, you know, it was a 4-hour time frame play. You know, from the low of 1877.506, price made a bullish move. You know, that retracement, price came into the 78.6 Fibonacci level. And I'm like, hey, this is actually a very solid place to get into a trade. Yes, I do know, and again, you guys can go back and take a look at what I was saying with gold. And I was like, yes, I do know that there is a likelihood that price can come down a little lower into a smaller time frame zone. I mean, a smaller time frame Fibonacci zone, which once I go on to the 1 hour time frame, I can show you. And one of our students, Carlo, he really got the play-by-play on gold last week, and he's going to get the same thing this week. You know, from the fib, and that's the reason why I have this alert there. I was like, hey, price can still come down over here to the 71% Fibonacci level, or even the 78.6. You know, unfortunately, the 78.6 didn't get any love, but price can still come over here to the 71% Fibonacci level, and then bounce up to and push up to the upside. And what do we have here? Tweezer bottoms. Sorry. Although yes, the candlesticks are not the same size by any means, shape, or form, they still left tweezer bottoms down over here at the 71% Fibonacci level. I'd be surprised if I actually had a trade placed and spreads get me in. I don't think that spreads on my broker would have gotten me in that trade, quite honestly. But anyways, price pushed up from there, hitting the extensions, almost came to the 38.2 extension. You know, that was the play inside of the play that I gave last week. And right now, all I'm seeing on gold, I mean, daily time frame. Let me talk about the daily real quick. First of all, I like the price. I love the price action. We're at break even on this trade. I'm going to go ahead and hide that. What I really want to see on gold would be for... Okay, that zone got broken. Let me get all of this out of here. Carlo, you're funny, man. So anyways, 1911 from that low to the high. This bullish move that's happened, and this is more of like a 4 hour / 1 hour play kind of look, but it's definitely like a play that will take like a couple of days to play out, so it's not an intraday. But I would definitely like to see, you know, price flag down anywhere in between 1932 or 1923 for another move to the upside. Now, I am fully aware that, hey, the possibility of price coming down and, you know, stopping me at break even, it exists, you know. But again, why do you think I might take profit there? I take profit, stop loss, all that stuff is there for reasons, because I know that, hey, once that zone hits, the possibility of me getting stopped out, it exists. You know, and so if price does make a retracement, guess what I'm going to do? I'm just going to get another entry right here to take price to the upside. If it doesn't stop me out the trade, if it does end up stopping me out the trade, it is what it is. I have another entry. And then I expect price to continue going bullish, you know. And yes, it will be a shorter play, and I won't be able to see if price is going to end up going to these highs. Because again, I do still think that, yeah, daily time frame, based off of how it looks, you know, there is still a huge possibility of price coming up to even at least the likes of 2000, 2001, or, you know, 1987. I'm sounding like I'm naming off years. But you know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't necessarily... Hold on. You come over here so that I can start getting prepared for the trade if it starts to retrace down there. You know, that 50 EMA, that's what this green line is. I do appreciate that that price is currently above it, and it did wick off of it. I really just want to really see gold go bullish, you know. If I go on the lower time frames, I mean, Carlo, again, you know what it is, bro. You know, from this low right here, that price made this bullish move to the high. Price did make a retracement, came over here, grabbed all of those fibs, and went bullish right after. At this point, I wouldn't be surprised if by tomorrow we see 1984 or 1977, you know. Or not tomorrow, I would say like tomorrow or Tuesday. I wouldn't be surprised at all. But at the same time, again, for me to see another possibility for me to get into a trade, I would have to see the likes of 1932 or 1927 or 1923 for a bullet, another possibility for me to get into the trade. That's just part of my rules, you know. If you don't have a rule system in these lawless charts, you gonna get wrecked. So, and overall, just let me go ahead and look at the flip side of things. Overall, for a bearish bias, I would really, you know, again, from this high to this low, I mean, price never really broke through this structure, and I've been saying, hey, I need this structure right here. I need it to get broken in order for me to switch my bias completely on gold from a bullish bias to a bearish bias, right? This is the zone that needs to get broken. Because even when price was over here, I was saying, hey, I like this move and all, but I need to see gold break through this zone before I have a bearish bias on it. And me seeing that price literally bounced off of it and then going bullish like that, I was like, there's no way I'm going to look to buy this. I mean, to sell this. I'm going to have a bullish bias no matter what. And, you know, paid off. And again, I still see the possibility of price coming up to this zone in general between 2003 and 2033 for a possible sell. But again, that's the reason why my TP2 is up there. Like, I have it set up for a reason, you know. It's like I don't have the fib set up, or I don't have my settings or my take profits for nothing. So that's what I'm still looking at for gold. The possibility of it coming down to 1923 again exists before making a bullish move, but we'll see what happens throughout the week. We want the market to come to us. We don't want to chase the market. Yeah, we don't want to chase the markets. We want the markets to come to us. All right. Le S&P. The S&P. You know, I was saying, hey, S&P, this is what I was saying last week. I love how it broke through the structure. But unfortunately, what I would need to do for me to get into a trade is for a price to retrace back down into this fib zone, like in between 4269 and 4211, for me to look for buying opportunities on a higher, like on a swinger's perspective. Never got that, and I'm just like, hey, it is what it is. You know, I don't like chasing the markets. I want the markets to chase me. And I was saying, if price does break through the zone, the retracement is what you would look for before looking to sell it. Let me go ahead and remove all drawings. Come on over to the weekly time frame. These things are built to buy, man. as much as they go bearish for a couple of weeks or however long they gotta go bearish for, the rebounds be insane, and it makes me just be like, yeah, man, you know, look at this key zone. You just look at that key zone, or you can just be like, hey, this is what it looked like a couple weeks ago. Let me just do a little quick replay so that we can see what the banks really did out here. There's this zone right here. Everybody who uses support and resistance, which the banks know, or they probably don't know, who knows, that's what traders look at for trading, right? They look like, oh, this is support, this is a perfect place to look for buy opportunities. Price goes bullish a little bit, and then comes back and retraces, comes back into this zone. What are buyers doing again? Oh, prices came down to this support. It looks like this might be a good time to look for buy opportunities. Place my stop loss underneath this wick. Take out those lows, take out all these equal lows, and then come down to the next zone that's underneath of it. All in the same day. Right here, right? On the same day, come hit this wick. Or all in the same week, I should say. Come hit this wick, because this is a pretty decent zone. In between this zone, in between the bottom of the zone and the top of it, that's 129 points on S&P. For the S&P, 129 points is a lot of pips. quite honestly. Like on US 30, it's nothing to like bat your eyes at, but on S&P, that's a lot of pips right there. Or it's 1,290 pips. Sorry, 129 points, 1,290 pips. There you go. So yeah, then came back down, came all the way down to this zone. After that, left a wicked wick. Hardcore. This is telling me, okay, this is bullish, this is bullish, this is bullish. Come back down into that zone to make people believe that, hey, this is going to continue selling. And then if I go onto the lower time frames, just draw a fib right here. Just looking at all that price action on the weekly. This looks terrifying to me. I personally would not be trying to sell into this. I mean, personally would not be looking to buy into this on the daily time frame. Just keeping it 100%. But then look what happens. Price plays around over there. Takes off to the upside. These guys know what's up, man. These guys know what a lot of retail traders are doing, and then when you spot it, it's comical when you find it. Because I fell into that trap too, no cap. Because I was trading US 30. Same thing happened to me. I took a loss off of that long wick on the Dow Jones, and what did price end up doing? Making big moves like this. Like after seeing a weekly candle like this, it's hard for me to say that okay, nah. After doing a bullish engulfing candle pattern like that, it's hard for me to not be bullish on it. But all I wanted was a retracement. I never got it. And on the daily time frame, all price, I mean, it's already broken through this lower high right here. But all price really has to do is break through this zone for me to be like, all right, well, once it breaks through this zone, and my fibs that I'm drawing is hypothetical. But from that low to wherever price goes up to where it breaks through this zone to that high, and again, it's hypothetical, I want to see price do something like this. Break up to the upside, retrace back into this zone, then go make its new all-time highs. I would not be surprised if something like that happens. I would not be surprised if something like that for the US indices happen for the bullish aspect of it. But now, when I turn things around, I'm going to keep this up here. But when I turn things around, I want you guys to take a look at this. From the high of 4820.21 to the low of 4106. Where does that line up right with? Right now is a very interesting spot for me personally with the S&P and the US indices. And, you know, I'm not necessarily one to trade off of the VIX. And I usually leave that up to my boy Peyton. Peyton P be pushing P, you know. But the likelihood of price coming up to 4613, 4667, and then pushing to the downside, it very much does exist for me. Oh yeah, definitely looking at that 15-minute. I'm gonna take a look at the lower time frames, but definitely with the S&P, for it to be on that bearish push is what I'm leaning a lot towards more than when it comes to like looking for buys longer term, like for the next couple of weeks or so. And it's funny enough because a lot of people like to say that, oh, when the US dollar is bullish, then the S&P is bearish. And I'm like, let's go ahead and see what's going on here, you know? Let's go ahead and see what's really going on when we take a look at let's take a look at the comparison. Nope, not here. This is not what I'm looking for. Where's the compare button? Wow. You know, this is what happens when this is what happens when TradingView doesn't update. You don't even know where anything is at anymore. All right, so we can see here that there's a point in time where the U.S. dollar is going bearish, and that's a point in time where the S&P is going a little bit bullish. But it's like as of right now, price is steadily rising as the S&P is going very bullish. So it's kind of like, yo, what do we got to do here? So, anyways, overall, I just want to see what price is. If it'll be really interesting to me if price gets up over here in this zone and then goes bearish, and then the U.S. dollar does the same thing, because it's like, but isn't it usually that they're doing sort of the opposite, not all the time doing the same thing? I wish that my FX book could help me out with that answer, but I don't think it does. But let's go on over to Dow Jones before I talk about arbitrage real quick. It's basically kind of the same thing that I'm feeling with US 30. However, it's kind of like this is more from this previous lower high to this lower low, whereas there's still all this price action up here that still needs to be accounted for, right? So it's like with US 30, still definitely feel like it can still make more moves to the upside rather than where I had the previous fib at. And this is an alert that I had previously and it never got hit, off of and it's just like the opposite play of what I was looking at for US 30. For S&P. But overall, from this low of 32697 to the, and again, this is a hypothetical move, to the high of, like, let's say 3556.2, because this is the previous lower high that price does need to break through, this red zone. Once it breaks through that, then again, that's going to be an area where I'm going to be, those two colors need to change. Again, once price breaks through this zone, that would be an area where I'm like, all right, now since price did break through there, I want to see breakout, retest, continuation type of play on US 30. So we'll see what goes on with that. It's definitely an interesting sight to see right now. But hey, let's see what goes on, Gonna go on over to arbitrage real quick. Take a look at what we have here. Weekly time frame on US 30. It's coming to a very interesting area on the arbitrage bands. It called for the sell over here back in February. It dropped down. It did previously over here. A breakout, retracement, and continuation. So I can't really ask for much more. Well, I kind of can, but I can't at the same time, because right here is still a whole bunch of resistance that I'm seeing. Upper danger zone right there. There's this RSI line that's still right here. Price is currently, it still looks like the possibility of price literally falling from right here does exist. And it's not even like Level Pro and Arbitrage Z that I have over here. Yeah, they're not that good looking, but when you go onto the lower time frames, they might be. We have a buy call over here, but again, I would still need a retracement at least to the downside before I look to buy it. And again, there's still this huge resistance up here that if price literally buys into, would be not so bad of a place for me to look for sales on US 30. So I'm pretty sure the 4 hour and the 1 hour is all bullish as well. Yeah, this is setting up for a potential sell, but it's not there yet. And 1 hour time frame as well. still is bullish, but it's right now currently holding at that upper danger zone. So I don't necessarily want to, you know, necessarily play with this, but I would watch out for it later on, probably in the week. It's not on my watch list. All right, the cryptos. That bullish move to the upside, man, that was fire, and I'm glad that I was able to get us out of I'm glad that we were able to get out of that Ethereum trade before it took off, because I have a feeling that Ethereum looks something identical to what Bitcoin just did. Finally broke out through this zone. Awesome. So let's analyze this. Got the breakout of these two zones finally. These two zones. Right. Let me go ahead and get rid of these trend lines. Going over to the weekly time frame real quick. Love this weekly close. Love that weekly close. Price closed above that 50 EMA finally on the weekly time frame. That is fire. That is what I love to see, right? Daily time frame, going into it, price action looks wonderful, right? This is beautiful price action for the bulls to come into play. I love the close above this zone. Now, only thing that I'm still tripping on is still on the daily time frame. As much as yes, price did break through this previous lower high, this lower high wasn't really a good retracement overall on how this bearish play had played out. You know, if this would have been a retracement where price came down to 394.60 and then came up to the likes of 491.50 and then dropped, I wouldn't be saying that right now. But that's not the case, and so overall, you know, still have to pay attention from this high of 52K down over here to 32K, that Fibonacci zone. That's where prices literally came into, and so again, it's still a very interesting level for price to partake in. But as I said last week, you know, you have two options that you could play. You could either wait for the bullish breakout right here. You could either wait for this bullish breakout. You know, you would definitely have made your 1-to-1 at this point. You know, because it was a 1,457 point stop loss, and I'm pretty sure price has gone up that high. Almost 1,332. For me personally, that's stop loss at break even worthy. Or you could have played the bearish move. I said, you know, playing the buy stop is much safer in my opinion. Where is there you go. That is definitely not it. That's the sell that I had said let's get out of. There you go. You know, these were the two plays that I was looking at. I was like, either A, you take the buy, or B, you take the sell. The sell never even came close to existence. And if you took that play, then you should be definitely in profits. It wasn't a play like I mentioned last week. It wasn't a play that I was going to record because, again, I wasn't really feeling it. But I gave the opportunity, and that's really all I wanted to do with this in particular. So again, daily time frame wise, you got to be careful. We definitely have to watch out with short-term opportunities with buying Bitcoin. But overall, guys, 56K. I remember on Facebook I had mentioned that like a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, 56K, that's the play. You know, overall, from these lows to these highs, the fib stood true. The fibs really stayed true to how I usually play them. You know, from the 78.6 1-to-1 risk to reward, from how I usually play my Fibonacci's, 1-to-1 risk to reward would have hit. You know, I actually have to go and I think I actually do have a trading account that I'm in this swing that I have to take a look at, and I'm happy that I held it and I didn't pay attention to it for weeks. But overall, yeah, like 56K. Like I said 56K, but overall 59,000, 60,000. That's where I would be like seriously considering, do I really want to, like I said, like I've said in previous weekly analysis, this would be an area where I'm like, do I really want to? Any profits that I've made, I'm looking to at least take some of them from, when we talk about the alts or Bitcoin in itself. I don't have any Bitcoin personally. I have a lot of altcoins, but not Bitcoin. This would be the area when Bitcoin itself, just Bitcoin, I'm not talking about the other altcoins, but when Bitcoin itself gets to that like 56,000 area to 60,000 area, that's where I'm going to be like, all right, now I'm going to have to chill. And that's just, from this high of almost $70,000 to the low of $33,000. Again, where does that land price right into? That supply zone where I'd be watching for it. Now, I'm not gonna lie to everybody and act like, the last time I said something like this, it was successful. This is when, like, over here to the left, when we look at price, when price had made that drop after Bitcoin has made its first all-time high, it dropped. I said this exact same thing as over here. I said, hey, once price makes that drop over here down to 28,593, that retracement over here this is where I'm gonna look for selling opportunities. I remember I got into the 61.8. That was nice. Price dropped. I made profits off of it. The way how price came back up, I was like, okay, might be another selling opportunity. When I tried to sell over here, I got wrecked. I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. Well, not wrecked, proper risk management never fails, but the trade was a L. I'm not gonna lie to anybody, but I'm not gonna act like I'm not gonna do the same thing, because that's my strategy and it works for me a lot of times, as you guys see with the bullish move with this zone holding and price moving up. Like, I'm pretty sure people were getting tired of me saying that, over here I'm looking for buys on Bitcoin, buys over here, buys, yada. I'm pretty sure there were some people who were getting sick and tired of that, and they thought that price would sell. But overall, again, 56K, that's where I do see price going long term, as long as, going smaller time frame, as long as this zone doesn't hold Bitcoin from going up any higher. So anywhere between 44K and 48K, that would be an interesting zone. I wouldn't necessarily try to look for buying opportunities unless the lower time frames did dictate that possibility. So with that being said, let's see what happens. But I'm totally down. I'm totally here for 56K. Like, that's me all day. This was a play that I was doing, like a little play-by-play on Bitcoin on my Instagram and Facebook story. I wouldn't say I was bored, but I was like, hey, let me do a little quick play-by-play on Bitcoin and see what happens. So anyways, weekly time frame on arbitrage bands I'm not necessarily a fan of where price is at, but I do love the price action that I'm seeing on Bitcoin, right? So right now, price is currently underneath this RSI line, and that's usually a big sign for me to say, hey, I'm looking for selling opportunities when price is underneath of it. If price is above it, I'm looking for buy opportunities, right? And price is like right underneath, well, not right underneath it, but it's underneath of it enough for me to say, hey, right here is a possibility where price can drop at. It's not like there have been times before where it hasn't, but there's also times before where it has, so not really paying attention to the weekly time frame as of yet. If I see Bitcoin drop from these levels to the downside, then I'll pay attention to it next week, right? I'll leave that to next week, Abdul. But anyways, daily time frame, very much bullish. 4 hour, very much bullish. This play, arbitrage users, if y'all stayed in it, man, y'all eating, I'll tell you that much. And 1 hour time frame, I would not have played this. Well, actually, I am tripping. But honestly speaking, this bullish move right here, I would not have played it. That's not usually the setups I look for. I like to sell high and buy low. So buying high is, unless I have a buy stop, is not something that I really am down for, you know. So regardless, we'll see what Bitcoin does. It's at an interesting zone, like I mentioned. I'm digging. I like the volume. I like the volume that kicked in on the 4 hour time frame. If I go in a little closer, I definitely like the volume that kicked in on the 4 hour bullish candle. A bullish candle with a big volume. More than likely, that means that price might be continue going bullish. I don't like the 1 hour where it's very big volume, and as price is continuing to go higher, the volume is decreasing. That's something I don't like to see. And especially at the zone that it's at, that's a little iffy. But I'm still pretty optimistic about 56K. So let's see what goes down with that on Bitcoin, Ethereum. Well, I'm not in Ethereum, but again, I'm in like, I gotta go peep a trading account that I'm in. Ethereum, same thing. This was a trade. Everybody knows on both DeFi domination, arbitrage, and next wave that this was a trade that I was like, you know what, entry. That's where I'm getting out. I don't like how Ethereum looks, and lo and behold, ended up pushing to the upside. So that was good intuition on that end. So weekly wise on Ethereum, love the price action. Same, very similar to what Bitcoin looks like. It's above the 50 EMA. That's very good sign for the bulls on Ethereum. At these current equal highs right now, it's broken actually through the equal highs. Prices came back down into it. And again, it's kind of something similar that I was saying with Bitcoin. You know, this is the previous, even this, I don't really care for as the previous lower high. You know, I'd rather, I mean, it is technically speaking, like from these highs, from this high, low, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, lower high. Price has not made a lower low, and it hasn't broken through this previous lower high, so it's kind of iffy to me still. Same thing as with Bitcoin. I don't necessarily like this fib, but I know that the possibility of price holding here, like, you know, slightly going up higher to like 3,520, just so that those traders who are looking to sell at this resistance right here are gonna get wiped out, right? Because they're like, oh, there's a zone right here that price could be holding at resistance. That is way too dark for my liking. There's a zone right here that price could come to this resistance, and this is where I can sell at. Hey, guess what? That's 71%. That lines up perfectly fine with mine. But the likelihood of price going up even a little higher than that and then dropping it exists more, you know. So I don't necessarily like the sell on Ethereum right there. I'd rather, again, and it's the same thing I feel about with, like, it's the same thing I feel about with Bitcoin. I'm like, hey, if price gets up to that like 4083, 3835 area, that's where I'm going to be really paying attention to see if that's where my eyes are set for a big sell, a big sell opportunity. You know, that's where my eyes are looking at more than down over here per se. So yeah, I still feel like Ethereum can go, I mean, the volume that's showing on here isn't the same as the volume on Bitcoin, but I still believe that Ethereum can continue going bullish. If I would have tried to, would I have tried to play a buy stop over here? Maybe no, I wouldn't have tried to play a buy stop here. Would I have? Let me see. see price going up. Yeah, if I see something like that, that makes me not want to get to a buy stop. But then it would have played out, so it's kind of hard to say. I wasn't there at the time. I only talked about Bitcoin buy stop. So, but overall, yeah, it looks good for a price to continue going bullish. Quite honestly, just the same way how Bitcoin's going. Weekly time frame on Ethereum. Weekly on Ethereum. Hey, it's currently below the RSI line. You know, this is a case where it didn't necessarily come and do a break and retest of the RSI line necessarily, but it did drop and came very close to it. You know, price, it still has all of this that it could hold resistance. It could hold resistance and then continue falling, you know, and it did call for a sell. So it's only the arbitrage Z and Little Pro that aren't confirmed for a sell either. So that's one thing that we can note on Ethereum, but it's at a place where it could potentially fall at. Daily time frame called for a buy, didn't give an opportunity to try to get into a buy opportunity though, for me personally. 4-hour time frame definitely called for a buy, and this wick I would have probably deleted my buy order, quite honestly. If price made a big move like that, I would have deleted my order. I'm not even gonna lie to anybody. And 1-hour time frame is definitely, dang, this I would have tried to take this too if I was looking at Ethereum rather than Bitcoin over the weekend. I would have probably taken this sell right here as well. No lie. But yeah, overall these cryptos, they looking pretty decent for them to go bullish. Just looking at all of that, and my other phone said it's going to die. All right, GBP pairs. Now this is the time I'm going to give everybody again the opportunity. If you have any pairs that you want me to go over, go ahead and drop them in the chats, and I will take a look at those for you. Oops, sorry. GBP USD. Let's go ahead and take a look at what I had mapped out last week. So last week I had a whole bunch of alerts that definitely did not get hit. So I'm gonna. What was I looking at necessarily last week? I think I mentioned that I wanted to see price, just knowing myself, you know. Yeah, just knowing myself. I probably had something like this, where I was like, I wanted to see price from these highs to this low, price retrace back down to these fibs, you know. That's why I have that alert set probably. Then once it retraces, I'll be looking for buying opportunities to push to the upside. Or if that didn't work out, then I probably was looking for something like this as well. And either or of those, it probably, like I said, probably is exactly what I really do genuinely don't even know what I was looking at on GU last week, just based off of what was on my charts, because that's what I base my opinions on, like what I have on the charts, right? But anyways, weekly time frame on GPUSD, a big bullish candle. It's not an engulfing candle, but it's pretty interesting enough that it's bullish like that. Very much still bearish weekly on GU, but overall it still has a whole lot of room down here that it could potentially come back down into before going bullish, but that's a long ways from here. I'm not even trying to get too deep into that. But looking at this previous where price really took off and made this next higher high from this low to this high, I do notice this is an area where price has rejected off of the past 2 weeks. The 78.6 Fibonacci zone. Very interesting that price is lined up there, just like how Euro USD is lined up at the 78.6 as well for the bullish play, but yet the DXY or the US dollar is at the 61.8 on the futures, but 71% on the DXY. It's just a whole bunch of interestingness to me, like how all these charts are lining up the way how they are, and you can call it a coincidence, you can call it whatever, but it's technical analysis, right? So price bounced off of that 78.6 on the larger time frame. Let me go ahead and just map that out real quick. Demand. Okay, so this demand zone, price has gone bullish right here. 4-hour time frame. From these lows to these highs, because actually before I even do all that, I want to note that price did definitely do a very good falling wedge before breaking out to the upside, if you ask me, on the lower time frames that I didn't even pay attention to. How dare I? But yeah, pretty decent breakout to the upside, and so I still want to see a retracement overall on GU. If I can get 1.30833 ish, like in that general area on GU for a buy opportunity, then I am all here for it. I do see that, yes, possibly GU can go bullish right where it's at. Sorry, I was trying my hardest to just get it aligned and it wouldn't. But yeah, I do definitely see the possibility at current price when I go on to the lower time frames for GBP/USD. I definitely do see this, you know, hey, price has been bouncing off of this fib zone multiple times, but that's what usually scares me. Usually when I see price bouncing off of a zone where I'm trying to buy off of multiple times, the more times that it bounces off of it, the less confidence I have in said zone. If it would have just bounced off of here, came back down once, and then bounced up, I'd still be confident, you know. But it came down here once, popped up, came down again, pushed up slightly higher than before, came down again, back over here close to the 78.6, pushed back up, almost breaking above those other highs, and then came back down again. This makes me just feel like, okay, at this point, yeah, don't even try to buy it right there. Just wait for this retracement overall. And so that's exactly what I'm going to do. Setting the alert at the 61.8 Fibonacci level so that I can start preparing myself mentally if I do want to get into that trade. So that's just what I'm going to be watching for GU. I do know the possibility of it going bullish does exist there. And if you want to take that risk, by all means. All right, weekly time frame. Weekly time frame, very much bearish. GU, no point to look at anything else, quite honestly, on the weekly. Daily time frame, very much bearish. Looks like the possibility of it to turn around does it does exist, but I don't necessarily care for any buying opportunities down on the daily quite yet. I would have to wait for a little bit longer. 4-hour time frame is showing that it wants to go bearish. Like in 25 minutes, this candle's gonna get printed out with a bearish signal. So that's something interesting to watch out for. You know, if you want to play the sell stop, by all means. That's not something that I'm going to call out though. And the 1-hour time frame, again, it's bearish as well. More than likely, price is just gonna break out underneath of these zones, but I don't want it to be where it does something like this: breaks out, comes back up, retrace, then continuation. If I see this first, this part down here, the push to the downside, and then a breakout, when price retraces, I'm calling that buy. But other than that, I'm not really interested in calling buys at these highs. I'd rather just wait for, you know, again, price to come down over here in between 1.31140 and 1.30644. So that's for GBP/USD. I'm gonna go on over to GJ, and then after that Euro GBP. And again, I had called this sell on GJ a couple weeks ago, and I was still in the same sell last week, and price ended up hitting stop loss. Full transparency, I took an L. I lost 1.5% of my account off of that trade, if I am not mistaken. Yeah, and it is what it is. Bosses take losses too. All right, but anyways, let me get rid of all these alerts because they do not matter. Oops. All right, so overall, when I'm over here looking at GJ, I'm like, okay, weekly time frame destroyed this zone right here. It's been playing around in this area for quite a long time, but this was definitely the zone on the weekly time frame, or not the weekly, on the daily time frame that I had mapped out how many weeks ago. That's where GJ said, I'm out of here. From these lows. I think it's these lows. From these lows to these highs. Definitely was not. It was this one. Yep. From these lows to these highs, price retraced, came all the way to that 78.6, and effortlessly kept going bullish. That would have been a good buy play. I don't know why I didn't call that. It's because I was too caught up in this sell. That's why. That's why you don't marry your bias, y'all. But anyways, GJ definitely is super bullish here. I mean, at this point, I kind of just see, because right now on the weekly time frame, let me go in a little bit closer. On the weekly time frame, we have here this zone where if price rejects off of this zone, then price can just push to the downside. But this is on a weekly time frame. We're gonna have to wait weeks before we can even start to say that, okay, yes, I'm feeling bearish on GJ a little bit, But if anything, on the daily, all I see is this play right now. It's like, okay, well, you just played this right here, and it played out to basically to perfection. It came up to the 38.2 extension. What makes you think that if you don't play this, that price is not more than likely going to do the same thing? So 154 is kind of an area on GJ that I'm looking at it for it to come down before I look for a buy possibility on it, because the only way that I won't be bearish on GJ is if it freaking breaks through this zone right here at this point. This is where I'd switch my bias. I'd bet, all right, bias switch, where if price from here just breaks through that zone, then yeah, I'm not going to be bullish on GJ any longer. But other than that, longer point of view, like in the next 2 weeks or so, this is how I see GJ playing out, quite honestly. Going on over to arbitrage, weekly time frame. First things first, weekly, it told me all the way over here that, hey, I'm probably going to be looking for buying opportunities. I didn't really like it, especially how it is. Again, I'm more of when the RSI line's up here that I lean towards the sell more, and I would not have made that decision to not be in a buy based off of the weekly time frame. I kind of based my sell on the daily time frame. Like, I wanted to match it up with the daily, if anything. 4 hour time frame, still very much bullish. At this point, I kind of have to wait for a breakout, retest, continuation for a possible sell on GJ. And 1 hour time frame, yeah, forget about it. It's just, It says that it's selling, but price is above the RSI line. Just makes me believe price is going to keep going bullish. Yes, there is a possible head and shoulders on the 1 hour time frame, but with the way how price is so bullish, I don't even see a point in trying to play it. This is the head and shoulders I'm talking about. Left shoulder, the head, right shoulder is right next to the left shoulder. I'm pretty sure there's people selling it right here. Lower time frame fib zone type of thing. Same thing. from that low to that high. I'm more than certain there's people selling this right here. For me personally, hey, if you want to, by all means, it doesn't look terrible. It's just super risky because GJ is super bullish, but it has to stop the bullish move at one point in time, right? So that's on GJ. Last call for any pairs that anybody is looking for me to take a look at. Euro GBP. Euro GBP, I'm going to keep it short and simple for you guys. Yes, I do see this possibility for a buy. I want to see price come down into the 78 points, like into this fib zone, then break out, retrace, then continuation for a possible buy move. But I'm going to keep it 1,000 with you guys. For me to place any buy position on EG at this point in time, longer term, I need to see this breakout first. I need to see price break above this zone before I decide that I'm going to look for a buy opportunity on EG. And until that happens, I lean on the sells more than anything, you know. Although, yes, again, I do very much see this play 61.8, price possibly even coming down to over here. But, you know, EG is just taking too much of my money the past couple of months, and now it's personal. It's kind of personal at this point, so I'm like, you know what? Just to show, and again, if it's not even again, but if you have if you start to get personal with a pair or anything like that, then it might be best for you to just leave it alone until it does what you're looking for before you trade it again with that bias type of thing. So going on over to arbitrage, weekly time frame agrees with exactly what I'm saying. I gotta wait for the breakout before I look to buy it. It's been selling since like December of 2020. Daily time frame is a whole lot of hoopla. I'm not trading this because it's consolidating. 4-hour time frame, from these lows to these highs, make the retracement. Yeah, it's the same thing that I'm looking at on technical analysis, but overall with arbitrage, I would want to see a small breakout, retracement, continuation on that type of play. But again, it just looks like it's consolidating on a higher time frame to me, in my opinion. 1 hour time frame, I'm not even interested in the 1 hour. Yeah, it can sell from right here, but it's not going to sell that long before it goes bullish, so I'm not even interested in that. But anyways, with that being said, I have talked a whole lot. It's almost been 2 hours on here, but is there any questions before I hop off of this analysis? I don't think so. All right. Well, if that's the case, thanks y'all for hopping on. I do appreciate it. The recordings will be up in their respective places, and let's get this money this week. Later, y'all. Ooh. Oh, dang, what the heck? I thought I turned this off.